you don't have to spend thousands of rand in school.
If you don't study, you end up in McDonald's. There's an extreme version of college is not important or college is a scam.
How many years do you want to spend in school when the world is moving? The world is moving faster than you are. Would you at least take the risk to start a business that could give you 2 million, or would you rather go into a job that would give you 15K a month? This morning, I can confidently say I have 1.4 million profile views on my TikTok.
If you ask any person what's 5 plus 5, they say, I don't know. But if you say 5 rand per 5 rand, they'll tell you exactly. This is like it's very racist joke.
Upon retirement and upon your death, no matter what your degree is, whether you have the PhD, it stops.
Can I brag?
Yes, of course.
Brag.
Okay. I like money.
Amen.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nigeria has a population. You adopt the China style. Nigerians, I think by birth, I don't know why I keep mentioning this in all of my podcasts. By mere nature, by the food we eat, we are naturally gifted intellectually. In any field you put in Nigeria. You that is a engineer now, if they say go and stand in a stage and become a comedian, you do better than somebody that went to theater school. Am I wrong or am I right?
But there's a reason why, right?
What's the reason?
That's what suffering does, right?
Yes, again, it is the same suffering that happened to China. We are overpopulated. There's too much to produce from Nigeria. Let's use that. Let me be broader, like Africa. And thank God for social media. We can see TikTok. We can see what is going on, development and all of that. Let me tell you what college education does to you in a nutshell. The best it will do for you is to make you the best for those that started the education system. Because when you become the best in your field, then they give you scholarship. And when they give you scholarship, they fly you to their country. And then they make you citizen of that country. And then you work for that country. Your skills that you acquired through their books, you take it back to them. And then over there, you will be like someone I know in their parliament, talking down on people back home on Africa to say they are not good enough. So that is the one point. Whereas I've seen on TikTok a lady recycling water bottle, making millions out of it. I have seen a Nigerian selling fly farming. I've seen people going back into farming. So we have the natural resources. All we have to understand is to see that, okay, Nigeria, we have the population. What is it that I can produce in Nigeria that people will consume? We are consumers by nature, by the way.
If I'm allowed to choose a side, right, I would actually say college education doesn't worth it. If I'm allowed to choose a side, I would say it doesn't worth it because I'm one of those people that would actually say that education is a scam.
I will
It is.
front back you as well.
Yes,
Okay.
I would say that.
So let me ask. You mentioned a very important point. You mentioned 2 keywords there that I really liked: consumers and producers. We have a situation in Nigeria or even around the world where you have producers like China, and then you have consumers. So the way I always interpret that is you have people who give, and you have people who take. Now, I want to ask you this question. Okay. You're a business owner. All of you are business owners, right? I don't know how much you're making. I'm going to just give you a big number. Say on a good day, really good day, you make 100,000 rand a week.
Amen.
Amen.
Thank you so much.
Amen. Right. If a company was to offer you that and match that offer, would you take it?
No,
Why is that?
because it also has to do with the struggle that I went through. It's much more rewarding knowing that I built this from my hands. This is something that came from me. This is not something that I had to study 5, 6, 7 years learning English.
Yeah.
And let me tell you something. Have you noticed that most wealthy people are moving their kids from the college to mostly homeschooling?
Yeah.
Now they're not teaching people find X. They are teaching their kids specialized learning. Yes. This is where they're teaching them, this is how my business is run. This is the way you do it. They're not necessarily asking you to define what animal farming is anymore. They're mainly training their children to take over from them. This is why they're having generational wealth.
I feel like no. You actually, that's every business owner I know, people that have, because business is hard. So if I see someone doing business for an extended period of time, they're not doing business because of school or because of not school. It doesn't matter, right? They're doing it because they are producers by nature. And you can't box a producer. Like you can't, because now it means you have to work within certain rules. And the idea of a business owner is adventurer. So the point I'm trying to make is that's you, right? There's like 80 million people that don't think like that. You talked about, I don't know if it was you, I think it was you who would say, they teach us school and some people decide to go to UK or Europe and they end up in that system and they start talking down in Africa, right? That's the 80 million people, right? I'm saying the average producer or producers in general, whether they go to school or not, they don't do boxes at all, right? And I'm saying not everyone is like that. And there has to be a framework for people who are not like that. Now, we can argue as to should we start talking about it more? Maybe people should become more producers and consumers. That's a different topic, right? But there's an element of even if degree worked for her, even if she had the best grades and the best job, I don't see her staying there because that's not her personality. Her personality is to break bounds and break boxes. So education at that point is not really relevant. It's a part of the journey, yes, but who she has transcended whether she went to education or not. Someone else would take that same education, get the best grades, and take the 15,000 rand. No problem, no issue. So what then for Africans? Again, that's still the big question mark around, practically speaking, for this, out of 100 million, there's this 80 million people who just want that 15K and that safety.
Okay, can I say something?
Yeah.
I believe that as Africans, we have been forced, or let me not say forced, but we have been made to believe that we can't think for ourselves, that we can't be the producers. Yes, there's a need for producers and consumers, but I would like to say this in pidgin. Waiting do you where you don't want to be that producers, because producers are getting way more than the consumers.
I know the beautiful thing is, power lies in the hands of the consumers. Always. And let me shock you guys. People think, if you do marketing, they will tell you, the buying power lies in the hand of the consumer. Without the consumer, the producer is nothing. The mistake, and this is, when I got this, I got a shift in consciousness when I got this awareness that the mistake Africans do, it's two. One, imitation, because the Westerners has done it, we're also going to do it. And secondly, they produce out of feeling, out of their own feeling. Oh, this is the business that is going now. Oh, this business will go. Let me do that. They just produce because that's how they feel. They don't produce with the consumer in mind. Every successful producer, every successful business person you know today in life, the first thing that they do is to go and find out what the consumer needs. And who is the consumer? The consumer is the person with the money, with the cash, but that doesn't know what to do with it. Whether to buy food or to buy clothes. And Abraham Maslow has made this very easy for us. I mean, if you follow this trend, your eye will open to not be saying a small thing. This is it. We have 5 human needs, right? Food, shelter, clothing, to be loved, and all of those needs. Everybody, including you, including my dear host and my beautiful guest here, have a desire. So what comes first when you wake up in the morning? You want to eat, you're hungry, you want to brush your teeth. So these are the basic needs. What do producers do? They go out there to seek, okay, he likes to wear Adidas. They call it profiling. They call it algorithm. From your color, from your hairstyle, and that is what they push to you. For example, if you want to buy a red car, if you go to Facebook, the whole day you'll be seeing red cars.
red.
So producers, they work on this. If Africans can just sit back and say, okay, what is it? Let's start by my neighbor. So you don't need to go to those BB college. And I'll round up by just giving us the 4 surefire way that if it's financial success, financial freedom, you want to be wealthy for life, there are only 4 ways. Leave college. I'll count it for you. But before we get there,
Okay.
this is my neighbor. Practically, this is my neighbor. She likes to look good. She likes to dress nice. She likes to wear clothes. She likes to eat fine. In all of these things that I desire, what is it that I can approach her with to say, I can give you this to solve a particular problem? Not a problem that you have not had, though. A problem that you are currently facing. You know, for example, and it's funny how women and men, how human beings can tell of their discomfort just by showing body language. For example, if you are hungry, you can show that sign of you're hungry. You know, as a producer, and I made that mistake. If I had known now what I know now, I would have done it differently. And this person always too like food, like to eat every time. I offer food. You eat. Thank my neighbor, no bad intention. What if I start food business? Will you buy from me? First customer. She will do word of mouth marketing. Oyimita sells food. You start small. It happens with our mother, our grandmother, our great-grandmother. That one is the one part. If African can look into that, what do consumers need? Right? Because your college is what do producers need? That is the mistake. They teach you to be
Focused on the producer.
yes, electrical engineer to solve electrical engineering problem. You come out with that knowledge. You have it. Okay. But you sit with your certificate. Not one day you identify, even in your street, why the power is not on.
Okay.
Okay. Sorry, I don't want to stop you because
let me hear what you want to say.
Because you guys have said 2 very important things, and I fully agree. Again, you talked about why wouldn't you want to be a producer, right? It sounds obvious, like if you know that all you have to do is take risk for 1 or 2 years and you get sorted for life. It sounds like the obvious thing, like most people should take it. You talked about how engineers, it's like we are taught to solve engineering. You're absolutely right, by the way. We are solving problems for each other. It's the engineer's curse. We're solving, so we're showing off in our conferences like who is the better engineer.
Not for the outside people.
Not for the outside. So you're absolutely right. Why not transformers? And I think, this now goes to a different conversation around why I believe Africans hate each other. Ask yourself this as a business owner. How many times have Africans come to you to say, hey, I want to help you sell more business?
It's funny because I think every day I have one lady telling me, can I be your distributor?
One.
Every day.
Compared to your customers that you've sold to, the ratio.
That's true.
Right.
That's true. But remember, I'm small. I've not started.
No, that's fair.
I'm still growing.
So, but that's the thing, like, remember, for you to become, I don't know, what's your big competition? What's this beauty stores in the malls that are very nice? It's very expensive though.
Where's that one? The one that does nails and that sells
there's
nails
a
and lashes.
franchise. I can't remember the
town.
name. But for you,
something nails.
Yeah, there are a lot of them around there.
But before you get to that level, you need to do sales, right?
Yeah.
And you need like as many distributors as possible, all doing sales. But that is hard.
No, that is what college teaches you.
No. I'm saying I'm saying, for example, the transformers, fixing the transformers in the neighborhood, that's gonna cost you. So if I was an engineer, it's gonna cost me to try to fix something. No one is gonna pay me.
No, it's
right?
not gonna cost you nothing.
It's gonna cost.
No, how would it cost you? Your community know you are an engineer. You're a qualified engineer.
No, but they're not gonna pay me. You can
write to your local government. That is education. That is college. That's
no, I'm saying yes. Theoretically theoretically
School is
speaking,
theoretical.
no, I'm saying theoretically speaking, I could write a letter to my
Yeah.
neighbor, to my
Yeah.
local government,
Yeah.
and so on.
Yeah.
But practically speaking, I have to bribe someone to
No,
get
have you
something.
tried? Have you done it?
No.
Have you tried?
I've been doing business for a few years now, and if you know how many proposals we write on average, just to get that interest. Again, I'm not saying they are wrong to reject the proposals because sometimes the proposals are crap. Right?
I'm glad.
No, like it's fair game, but there's an element of doing business costs you something because you're trying to solve someone's problem. So you have to put in your investment, whether it's in time, money, resources, whatever. You have to take that risk. And again, not everyone is willing to do that for their neighbor. People,
This is why, this is why you are right when you say college would never be the sure way to success.
It's not.
No,
Never.
but-
Even how you speak, and I'm sorry
Okay.
to say,
No,
with
no.
respect to your qualifications, with
Yeah.
total regard to your qualification, I respect that where you are now, and I hope I'll be there one day. The thing is, as one that has studied maybe introduction to electrical engineering, and this is what they don't teach you in school, how to identify the problem, how to solve
the problem.
by just being a third party, because all you are going to do is offer your practical skills. If you are not good at writing that proposal, there are people that studied critical writing, business writing, that you collaborate with. I'm trying to open our mind to where African is closing up. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, for example, now, this is his podcast. But you know he cannot do the podcast alone. He needs videographer, he needs guest, he needs microphone, he needs collaborator. To a point where he think, okay, I need a co-host now. Right. But why do you then think because you are the electrical engineer, that problem now sit on your head to do everything by yourself?
can I correct something? Maybe I didn't mention this earlier.
Okay.
And I think we need to separate there's two different types of problems here.
Okay.
There's technical problems. For example, videographer, something breaks on the camera. College teaches him how to fix that camera.
No, not necessarily.
Oh, no, they do.
No,
That's
not necessarily.
That's the electrical engineering. That's what we're taught in school. How to fix the technical problem.
If I may correct that, what you just said, right? That is what they.
sorry, I think
That
she
is
has
what they
something
made
They
us.
make you believe.
I think she has something to
Yes,
say.
that's what they
Let's-
make us believe.
Wait, sorry, I think you have something to say. Let's hear.
I think in college they do teach us how to deal with the
How-
cameras, how to
So-
do photo shooting.
But it's not
in,
only.
in CBUT there is a course for shooting.
Yeah, for videography.
Yeah. So
But it's not only the colleges that can teach you that.
No,
I can
no,
start
I don't
learning from him
disagree.
and
You can
I
actually
can
get
do
a
it.
better photographer that didn't go to
on.
college.
Exactly.
Because I want to get somewhere right. There's technical problems in the sense that, for example, I want to build a bridge.
Okay.
There's a software you need to use to model the bridge to make sure it doesn't crash 10 years later. There's all these tools. They teach us how to use those tools, no doubt. Well, at least a decent, let me use the word, a decent college, a standard college that tries to do their job with pride. They should be able to get that right. What I think they don't get right, and again, I could be wrong. Maybe I'm just the one that went to the wrong place. I don't know. But they don't teach the people side.
They don't.
Right? Now, the reason why I mentioned that is because, again, you mentioned that I think they teach you how to solve technical problems in the sense that when there's a time to commission a bridge, say, for example, you know those bridges in Cape Town, in CBD, those massive bridges, you can't do that if you don't go to college. No one is going to teach you that outside college.
Yeah.
There's nowhere.
But it is not the one that went to college that is actually doing the bridge, right?
No. It's the supervisor
No.
that is going to
He's just holding the book.
yeah, no,
Yes.
but that's...
the
The
handyman
actual
is-
people, the handyman didn't go to college.
No.
So now that's a
But
different
who are teaching
conversation.
The people who are building the
He's the one that
bridge?
went to college.
Yeah, well, of course, there's a
Yeah.
reason why. And this is what I'm saying now, like, because now that's a different conversation around, is it fair that the supervisor went to school and he's getting more money than the guy who is using the hammer and hammering the that's a different conversation. I think it's just in the sense that at the end of the day, it's down to competition. If I can get 10 people,
It's a whole different school of thought.
yeah, there's a whole different thing, right? But an element of that massive bridge, even properties that last decades, this whole massive, you can't do that if you are not trained. Let me not use the word college, in a very good technical school.
Of course.
Right?
Of course.
I am more of the thing of, there's not a lot of big companies that can employ that many people, especially on the scale of when we're talking unemployment. right now, college is not optimized to train the normal guy who doesn't necessarily want to build skyscrapers, that just wants normal skills to survive in the real world. The schools don't teach the people side of things, how to solve people's problems. And again, and I don't, I want to blame the school in the sense that, yes, they have their responsibilities to bear, but I think that's like 30% of the problem, because there's also a responsibility of the person to try to learn. You wanted to learn. Like, yes, there was an element of school sucks, but did you use that as an excuse to say, okay, I'm just going to accept this?
I think, right, I haven't heard you speak very succinctly. I think the school is a business. College is a business.
At the end, everything is
I
a
think
business.
it's entrepreneurship. I think their vision is to create a body of organizational problem solvers and not real life problem solvers.
I mean, remember, think of it like this. And you're right, but remember that the organization problem solvers, these are the ones that are funding the universities.
Yeah, that's what I said.
So it's a business, so they have to cater to their investors.
It's an ROI. There
Yeah.
must be ROI on it for continuity of the. That's why you see universities that have lasted or colleges that have lasted for decades and decades and decades, and graduates keep pouring out year in, year out. But those that are really, really efficient or useful in the work space on the job field, they are minimal. They are not there, right? And for me again, right, I did mention that I was going to mention 4 surefire way of being financially successful in life. And this is not a digression. It's just, I just want to point out the role that college actually plays in our life as Africans or as human beings in general. Yeah, college is skill transfer in a structural, organized way, right? But it's not part of the 4 sure way you can be financially successful in life. The one is marriage. So if you marry into a wealthy family. The other one is entrepreneurship, buying and selling and all that. The other one is inheritance. And the last one, which is also part of entrepreneurship, is rental and properties, real estate, right? So these are the 4 sure ways. And in my lifetime, I have seen people that are not educated, even as I speak to you, that have gone into 1, 2, or 3, right? Like consciously decide to say, you know what, I don't want to be educated. I want to either look for a rich person to get married to, or I want to inherit this wealth, or I'd rather
Start up a business.
start up a business, right? Even if it's tomatoes, pepper. I have seen that. And it has worked better than you and I that gone to college, like in my family.
So now it boils down to this question.
Yeah.
Let me ask you, because you're a little bit cold. So let me ask you a question.
Yeah, very good.
You are an electrical student, right? Mm-hmm. So what is the drive that you have that made you want to be an electrical student?
Okay, looking at South Africa, the way we struggle, as I see becoming electrical engineering, I first saw it into my father, and it was inspiring me, and I was doing real good in electrical topic in circuits. So what made me to become an electrical engineering is because of this load shedding, and I believe that I can fix things because I used to help my father. Whenever she have a piece job, I will go with him. You know, we go fix, and then so that inspired me to go and do electrical engineering, but to not do electrical engineering in UCT. In technology, I wanted to do electrical engineering in technology varsity.
That's CPUT.
Yeah, CPUT.
Okay. Because you're getting more practicals from
it's a
CPUT.
technology, 50% of theory and 50% of practical.
Can you see that?
If I may understand what you said, so your idea of wanting to be an electrical engineer is because, I mean, you've seen problems like load shedding.
Yeah.
And you want to be in that sector where you can assist and help. Mm-hmm. So you think if you are now a qualified electrical engineer, you have anything to do with load shedding, knowing that load shedding sometimes it might actually be part of politics.
Yeah.
Yeah. So do you think your inputs will do anything to change that.
Yeah.
You think so?
Yeah, I think so. I believe in myself.
You
So
wanna say something?
just so this is an example of where it's down to the person, right? So the person who says, for example, I'm gonna fix load shedding, they will get to a period where they realize this is where education ends, and now I must become a politician,
Yes, now it's the real life.
right? If she
Yeah.
really cares, she will make that transition. Or she will learn. Yes, she will fail. Just like a business, you would fail and you would learn the hard way and so on. But because of that goal, if she's really keen on that goal, she will take the effort to go all the way down to even presidency if she has to. And she might even get to presidency and realize, no, there's some even more powerful people than presidents, and she can decide. But there's an element of, there's a choice component that, yes, we make assumptions that school is supposed to teach us and so on. And yes, they have their big failures. Like I said, I have my own personal, very big beef with universities. For example, like
We all do.
they didn't prepare me for business at
all
all.
do. They will
Like
never
I
do.
would be the guy that's always on PowerPoints and Excel. But in the real world, those things don't matter.
Don't matter.
They have no right. Does it mean Excel and PowerPoint is not useful? I think it is, but it's only useful when there is a business.
Isn't that the same as saying that education is a
That's
scam?
exactly what I'm saying.
No. Hey, and remember,
No, it's the same.
it's a scam
Yeah.
in the sense that for me, in the case where I want to learn business, right? If I'm someone who just wants business, yes, it was not useful. I could have learned better by just going straight to a mentor, shadow them, and so on. But again, that's theoretically would have been better. But how many family members do I have that my parents even trust to hand me over to say teaching business?
I think.
Sorry to cut it short. You know why I said if I'm to pick a side, listening from you, and from you as well, and from her, if I'm to pick a side, I would say that college doesn't really worth spending 4 years, 3 years. And education itself, I would say, is a scam. Because now, for example, if I have to give this phone to you, and I say to you, this phone is for you to make calls, right? And this is how you put on the phone, this is how you put off the phone and everything. And at the end of the day, you take this phone from me, you paid for it, because going to college, you pay for the fees, right? Now you paid for this phone. On taking this phone from me, you realize that me telling you that you can swipe up to make keep it open is not really just swiping up. There are other few things you need to do before you swipe up, and now you don't know how to do it. Now you need to look for someone else to tell you, sorry, before I swipe up, what can I do? So I've actually scammed you because the information you bought from me is not exactly what I gave to you.
Temporary knowledge for permanent money.
So
you are
wait,
giving
hold
them
on,
money,
hold on.
but it's
No,
temporary
but
knowledge.
one could also argue then that the reality is you will not even know there's a phone to begin with without that education.
The funny thing is, like I said, none of us sitting here will ask, but where did it all start from and why? And if you mention without education, there will be no phone. Who said I needed a phone? Why did you bring me the education?
Oh, okay.
Do you
No,
understand
no,
what
no,
I'm
wait,
saying?
wait. So,
You understand what I'm saying? Because again, your education to educate, to pass on knowledge, right? It's not balanced when I am not the one asking for it. And this is where there will always be problem.
so,
Do you understand what I'm saying?
so I can make a pretty educated guess how education starts. Usually there's one guy, say, who invents something. You can think of them as the business owners who take the risk. They don't even have school. They just understand that, hey, there's a demand for this specific product. And if I can figure out a way to make it in bulk, I can get rich and solve the world's problem. So that one person takes the risk. They invent something nice, a car, a cell phone, it doesn't matter. They invent it, and it becomes a wow, we just changed the world. We just invented
Where
an
did you learn
airplane.
it from? That is the thing.
No, that's-
the very first person. Again, like I said, none of us here is asking where did it all start from. That one person that invented education, where did he?
No, no,
The
they
knowledge
didn't-
is that person is
Hold on.
imparting on others.
Yeah.
Where did he or she get that knowledge?
I would say,
Yes.
I would say that's a divine thing, and this is where everyone is unique because again, not everyone is designed for business. There are some people they're just
I
inventors.
disagree.
Sir,
I disagree.
everyone is designed for business.
Everyone is. See, the human desire, you as a human being, your desire is insatiable. Your need is constant, and your need needs to be fed. And because you cannot have it all, and you cannot satisfy your desire, you need an exchange
So
from one that has what you don't
But
have.
I will support him on this one.
So
Not everyone
hold
is
on.
designed for business.
if everyone is
Yeah.
in business, who's gonna clean the toilet? Who's gonna break the
Cleaning the
floors?
toilet
There's a
is a business.
difference.
Cleaning the toilet is a big... Guys, you don't understand. I'm going deeper. I want to have an open mind. There is nothing that you do that is not a business.
business.
Even if you work 9 to 5, you are selling
Okay.
your
Oh,
time.
wait. So there's that's an exchange of value.
Yes,
So
that's what business
if
is.
you are saying trading, that's a different case. But then by that logic, even employees are business owners.
Employees are business owners. in
Because
the
they are
true sense
trading
of
their
it.
time.
They are trading their time. But you know why? You know the difference between an employer and an employer. An employer knows his value. An employer knows his vision. An employer knows his goals. 95%, let me not be brutal, let me be 90%, 90% out of it all, employees don't know their value. They don't know their worth. They want to work. Employees just want to be comfortable. They don't want to stress about losses. They don't want to learn. They don't want to count failures. They want people to take the responsibility of failure for them. Hence, hence, an employee can make a mistake. And when you summon that employee, there is first warning, second warning, third warning. Why are you making a mistake for this thing that you know that you're supposed to do constantly? But you know the funny thing is that every employee upon retirement wants to start business. Why?
They don't want to be bored. They want to pass the time.
All people kill them. All people for old age. All people finish.
But hold on. Okay.
So I just want to ask you quickly, Victory.
Yeah.
How do you define success?
I like that's a very good question because again, because there's a lot of words that have been being passed around. There's like financial freedom and like I said, there are some people that just want to do 9 to 5 and go home, do their jobs well. Now, whether they're compensated fairly or not, again, different conversation, right? But there are some people, for example, right now, I know I'm in the early stages of business. I know there's a hustle and grind period, and you can't really have employees now because employees want stability. But at the place where we get stability, say we get this one customer that, requests 100K every week of stock or sales, whatever, and we have to deliver for a period of 3 years. At that point, I need employees. I don't want the guy who is going to get creative. For example, this is where I always talk about how sometimes I struggle with photographers and videographers because a lot of the time they are creative people and they want to try their own things. Sometimes I'm like, photographer, I need a suit, a picture in a suit. What do? They add suits, they add flowers, and they're like, I wanted to add creative flair. I'm like, no, I don't want creative flair, right? That was personal.
No, but it
Right.
makes sense for me.
But there's a period where the company grows where now you need reliable people who can watch charts, people who can look at the graphs, find patterns like, okay, we're doing sales of 100K a month. What can we optimize? What can we improve? What can we take out? What can we add? And give report in a boardroom with a PowerPoint, right? At that point, you're just sitting in the office. It's no longer... Now, if everyone does business, which is like build this, and then there's no one else to do the office job.
You amaze me. You amaze me in a very, 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 very nice way, right? How do I mean? You have just articulated a business process, long and short. Somebody to watch the graph, reliability. In all of this, the end point is money in the bank, right?
For everyone, employees, employer, producer,
It's
consumer.
It's same with that farmer that plants cassava, that hire people to go and clear the farm, take the gari, to take it to the market. All of these are processes.
I think it boils down to how much money do you want in your bank account?
Exactly.
And how much money do you want in your bank account? And you as well. Hence, I asked the question to him, how do you define success for you, right? So if success for you is having millions of rands, dollars in your bank account, then
Entrepreneurship.
it will make sense why you shifted from graduate from electrical engineering into business.
Yeah.
Because you already know that's not going to be enough for you. So now, if you knew before you started college that this is the kind of money I want and college is not going to do it for me, would you have still gone to college?
I think so, because maybe and maybe that's a very important question in the sense that as to what I define as success. My own personality is I like to create stuff. I like to build stuff and sell the stuff. So what no one has built before, I want to build, let people use it, and then sell it. So if I didn't have the selling part, I probably wouldn't even be in business at all. The problem is when I started doing research and I wanted to get people to use it, I realized I didn't have the business acumen to sell to industry. So I had no choice but to go into business a little bit, understand sales, marketing, branding, all that stuff, because academia and industry are two different worlds. So success for me is me living in a world where I own multiple Ferraris, but through innovation, create stuff, test it with one or two people, and sell the IP. Right. And the best place to do that, for me at least, is research.
Yeah.
Right. So I can't do that without academia. There's just no way around that. Academia is where you are able to do that freely. Now, not everyone is me. I accept that.
Were you born into business?
Oh, no.
Were you built for business?
No, I don't like it. I don't like the stress.
So why are you doing it now?
Because it's a means to an end.
Because of the money in it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
So now the question is, for you, Victory, you are now into business.
Yeah.
It is safe to say that all those years you spent in college,
Ola Balu.
No.
all those years
I
you
would
spent
disagree
in
with
college
that.
doesn't want it.
No,
Or
no,
have
no.
you wasted those time? Because
No, for me,
okay,
on this
how
point,
have you applied electrical engineering and everything you studied in college into what you're doing right now?
Let me ask you this question. I will answer that question with a question. Forgive me, but I have to. Why do rich people send their kids to Harvard?
Okay, can I answer that?
Yeah.
Okay, first of all, it's not necessarily all about knowledge, all of
Exactly.
those things. Because I did my research before coming here, and most wealthy people are sending their kids to colleges of liberal arts and all of that. Not necessarily do this and become a doctor. They need these kids to take over from them. So it's not just
Thank you.
exactly.
I want to give you a high five. I want to give you-
Networking.
yeah.
But in the end, they are not necessarily sending them to college because they want them to study this and that.
Exactly.
What I think, I'm not saying college is not important, but instead, why can't we build things that has to do with specialized learning? You know your kid is good with this. This is what your child wants to be. And instead of studying for 3-4 years, because some of these kids, have you also checked it, like the rate of suicide in students? Students are dying because they can't handle the pressure. Put them in something they can study for 1 full year, teach them everything they need to know in the space of 1 full year, push them into the real life reality point. And
From what you just said, right?
yeah.
Finish up. I want to shift something to her. Just finish
Yeah,
up.
just push them and let them start learning based on what life is throwing them, not necessarily from what a textbook is telling them.
So you saying what someone is doing in college, for what you can do for 4 years in college,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
You can also do it in the period of a year.
Yes.
If you are learning through a different source
Yes.
and not college
That's
education.
apprenticeship, by
so
the way.
that apprenticeship, yes. Now, I do want to ask her, you said your dad is an electrical engineer, right? And you're obviously your dad technician, and your dad got people under him, like
like
people
an
who are
employee
learning from your
or-
dad.
Yeah.
Like laborers that
Obviously,
goes to
where I
work with your
stay.
dad, where you stay.
Yeah, where I
So
stay.
he got laborers that goes to work with him and all that.
Yeah.
And these laborers, are they educated?
No, they are not.
They're not educated.
They are like me. He can
Okay.
work with me and my brother.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Now you are in your second year. That's 2 years in electrical engineering. So would you say that you know better than those laborers that are always going with your dad? If they have to put both of you on the field of electrical
I
engineering.
don't want to lie. No.
Wait. Okay.
I don't want to lie.
So now,
no.
so the period of 2 years.
So-
is it safe to say that
It's
you
not waste. man.
Why?
Those people are just working like at homes. I mean, I'm going to be working like at industry.
So the only
Like,
thing you get from the college is the certificate to
Yeah.
give you the opportunity
Yes,
to
to
work.
sit in an
and-
office.
And the dream that they sell,
Now-
the dream.
So that is
Because sorry, if as an electrical engineer, it's something that you love. Like you said, you
Go
want
and learn
to.
it.
You understand?
Wait, I want you to know this. When you're a technician, you only work like around at houses, how to do this. But like when you become an electrical engineering, that's where you work on
industrial scale, big
scale,
scale.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because
I get it.
actually I wanna
That's
work.
literally-
So what she's trying to say is that her father is a technician. She just want to be over her father's, level.
become an electrical
better.
engineer.
Yeah, because her father does, small scale. She
So
wants to go
what
industrial.
she's saying is that she's studying to be an electrical engineer in order to keep the pen and book.
Not necessarily.
no.
No.
Oh,
What are you
wait,
asking?
wait.
Right?
No,
You asked her a
I want to
question.
get-
You asked her a question. You said you asked her that the people that are learning under her father,
Yes.
if she knows more than that, she said she wants to say the truth. They know more than her.
They know more than her,
Yeah, that
because
is
they're
for
always
now.
on the field.
That is for now. That's for
Yes.
now.
So now-
where she stands,
No, even-
where she stands benefit is that she's on both sides. She can learn technicality from her father, and then get both theoretical and practical knowledge of engineering from varsity, from CPUT, which gives her a better standpoint in the labor market, because now she's got the paper to back it, and she's got the handy skills
The
to
training.
back it. So
Okay,
this is
now-
where education
now-
is just.
As an electrical engineer, right? Obviously, you're going to be working in a bigger industry, right? Now, say your company that you work for, they've been given a project and you are meant to handle that project. So obviously, you'll be going to the sites with other laborers, other technicians. If you do not know exactly what the technicians are supposed to be doing or what they are doing, how do you tell that this technician has connected plus and minus differently?
That's at school.
If you are not always...
So-
no, I disagree if you're telling me that she will actually get all that knowledge from studying theories.
No,
at
sorry,
school.
guys. Just one. I think I need to highlight something. A very key thing that colleges or universities give you. There's a software you talked about earlier today, MATLAB. Technicians don't know what MATLAB is, right? What is MATLAB for? MATLAB just does what these guys do, but at scale. Now you're working with big. When I say big data, think of it as what Excel can do, say for 100 customers. This is doing for 1 million customers, because it's the same thing, but because there's already people doing that on the ground, and you want to grow this business, you need. So it's literally just for scaling, and that's where I agree with you in the sense that the people that build school or the people that are funding school are people who started like this massive companies and have grown to a point where now they want to just grow exponentially, and they don't really care about you building a business. They just want reliable employee, right?
Yeah.
And this is where, again, there's an element of choice. So the person who wants safety will go through that college system.
Where does the choice come from is
So
my question.
now,
Where is the root?
mentioning that software, I want to go back to that software you just mentioned. Now, you saying it's safe to say that college education are not they're not actually teaching you exactly how to solve the problem, but they're giving you another program, a software that can help you solve the problem.
Yes. So
you're not learning how to be
How to solve the problem.
someone solving the problem.
Have you noticed,
But
for
they're just
example-
telling you can use that guy to
For
solve the problem.
example,
You
your
can use
car,
that person
for
to solve the
example,
problem.
sorry to cut you, your car has a problem. You go to the mechanic. They use diagnostics. They just check, okay, this is the problem. They don't fix it. They buy another one already made and just put it. But they've studied 4 years.
4
to
years.
become
So now they can't
mechanical
fix the broken
engineer.
one. They're just replacing it.
No,
Whereas
just
someone that
replacing.
has not studied at all would fix the broken one.
100%.
So again, and this is where I'm going to bring college into that, right? So there's a guy, and this is where you have to put yourself in the shoes of the business owner. I'm a business owner. I can go with a mechanic who is going to take 3 hours to fix a gap, and I have to pay him 1,000 rand per hour, right? And even then, he might have to buy parts, and then that bill takes 3 hours. Or I can plug a software, plug it into this software, and just solve that 3-hour problem in 10 minutes.
No, your software will not solve it. It will tell you what the problem is. You still need your hand. You need to get
No,
that
I
thing
know,
to
but
exchange.
still, it still cuts that. That's the whole.
It's
That's
just
what the
more
softwares
efficient,
do.
quicker,
Yeah, the efficiency
more
part.
scalable.
So the training that we get, and this is why I said I think there needs to be a separation between solving a technical problem and solving people problem. This is where I would admit, for example, in a mechanic shop, a mechanic is able to identify the social problem. So they can more or less understand what's happening based on your description compared to someone who just went to school and all they know is plug and play.
And Jivar, this is the problem we have today in life, generally. We don't have a technical problem. We have a people's problem all over the world. It's like putting round peg in square holes. You have just said there's technical problem, there's people's problem. Now you've gone to school to study
Technical problems.
technical
Yeah.
problems. You want to apply it into a people's world. Now, let me conclude by saying this. All of humans, all of the world, we're selling communication. We are all business people. And what are we dealing with is communication. What are you selling is communication. What am I selling is communication. What am I buying is communication. What are you buying from me is communication. Take that and put it in any aspect of this life. And let me tell you that everybody is born for business.
So again, that is how a business owner speaks. What you just said is this, and this is how I'm interpreting that. Hey, this is how you're thinking. That, hey, you know what? I might not, things might be tough, but let me ask, what are people facing? And let me struggle. Let me try to see if I can fix the problem. And that's a producer's mindset. And I'm telling you now that 80% of the population doesn't think like that.
That is why the poverty keep persisting. And that's why you
Aha.
have the few of the... And again, it is free for everybody. Hence, I have not condemned education. I have said college. I'm against college. I'm not against education.
No.
Education is very important.
So-
Let's differentiate it here.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
There's a big difference between education and college education. It's two things. Now, what I'm not against is education, because even as a business person or as an entrepreneur or whatever I may be in that space, I need skills to be passed down to me. Sales, marketing, customer relation, accounting, all of that. I need someone that knows it. And this is why I'm against college education, is that when I go to a college space where we're like even 70 in a department, I don't get that. I don't get it. I have to struggle. I have to compete with the best of the best for the best results, shifting my focus away from the people's problem I'm meant to solve with what I'm learning in school.
So just a note again, that remember when the education was built, the foundations, when education was sweet, let me use the word, when education was sweet, was when there was still market gap. Where, for example, you had companies that would make cars, manufacture cars in bulk, but they didn't have enough staff to sort of produce and make sure that production is going, right?
Demand is higher than the supply.
Right. So when I hear stories, for example, in Nigeria, I would hear stories of people who would graduate and they would have pojos waiting for them. Like, graduate, there's a job waiting for you and so on, because there was demand for jobs then. Now we're in a situation where the market is oversaturated. So to a certain extent, I agree to that. Hey, college has a role to try to adapt, to say, okay, now that the jobs are not as abundant as they used to be, let's fix something or change something or do something to at least, I'm not saying they will perfectly get it. So here my beef is with college. But the other side of the coin that I'm trying to get to is, at the end of the day, there are some people that would go through that college suffering, whatever, where they don't learn anything, and they adapt and they change something in their life, they take responsibility. And there's the 80% of others who would say, no, it's the government's fault, it's education's fault. And I'm saying it's not. Yes, education has a role to play, but I feel like that's like 30%. Because at the end of the day, education is just an institution, right? It's just you can think of it as a black box where someone must come in through it and something must come out. So some people go into that black box, they are like, you know what, education is not for me. Let me figure out something else. Let me go into business, or let me do this, or let me do that. There's some people that are going to say, you know what, education sucks. Let me try to fix it. There's some people that are like, okay, education, I like it. I just want a comfortable 9 to 5, and education is going to give me that, and they run with it.
Can I ask a question? Is college meant to create job or meant to get job? So when you go to college, just for our audience, just to make it clear. So when you go to college, your purpose of going to college, is it to come out of college and get a job, or come out of college and create a job?
That's what they told us growing up, and this is where I said there's a lot of moving parts here.
You understand?
What they told us growing up, this was what was preached by everyone, high school, teachers, even parents sometimes. Go to school so you can get a good job. Everyone knows that saying, right? That was what that's the African mindset. Go there to go and take. So what happens is now there's not enough jobs to go around.
So what do we do now?
So
I want to create the job.
So
That job won't
this
go
is
and
where
take.
I'm saying I think Africans' mindset needs to change from rather than going into stuff, not just jobs, just in general, rather than going to say, oh, let me, for even something as simple as business networking, rather than saying, let me go into networking to get customers, rather go into what problems can I solve when I go to this networking event. So this is the part I don't really see, and I see that trickle down at multiple layers in the African community. When your cousins call you, they don't call you to say, hey, bro, do you have an Excel document you're working on that need help on that I can help you with? No, it's always send me money, right? It's always taking. And again, I'm not hating. Like I said, I think it's a cultural thing. It's always which country can give me stuff. It's always which country can I go that would give me a job.
No, but that's what I just said. I said earlier, even
Right.
with your PhD degree now, which is a very good thing. If you're offered but opportunity, I don't know, maybe you can clear. I mean,
No,
here
sure,
Yeah, we
yeah.
say it as it is.
Yeah, no, of course, of course.
Yeah, with your not very some with your PhD
No
degree.
worries. Yep.
If you are offered,
Yeah.
if you are offered an opportunity, so you studied electrical
Correct, yeah.
engineering. All right, we're having an electrical problem in Nigeria. We all know, right from we were young. Now you are offered an opportunity and a budget to say, solve Nigerian electrical problem with what you have studied in school
Yeah.
and as a PhD degree chaser. And, or here is a job opportunity in US or UK that will pay you so much money for the next 10 years. Which one are you going to take? Be honest.
I was in the UK last year, and I hope I don't get cancelled because I like UK money. It's pounds. When you convert that thing, it's very nice, right? But I don't see myself living in London.
No, I've said the US. I've just said the
No,
US.
I'm just giving an example. I'm not saying US is better or worse. For me, I like Africa, in the sense that Africa is. Let me use the word South Africa, because yeah, Africa can mean anything. I like Cape Town. Let me specify. Joburg. I like Cape Town in the sense that there's freedom to do business here, right? Like you only start getting like restrictions and so on when you're making a certain amount of money. So there's an environment that allows small businesses,
Open markets.
right? It's like an open market. I like that. Will I go back to Nigeria? Probably not.
Okay.
Not because I don't think there's anything I can do. Again, I'm not gonna say no because I don't know what that looks like. What I would say, however, is I'm always open to a good deal. Even a job, I don't mind a job, but I mind my
You are not
freedom.
being specific in your answers.
No, I have to tell you.
Here
So,
is A
so
or B.
so
You've
I'm-
gone to college. You've got a degree.
no. Think of it like this, right? I could have stayed in corporate. I was at Vodacom. I could have climbed. I'm not saying I would have been successful at it, but I could have tried to climb the corporate ladder.
I think we know his answer.
No. But
Yeah, we know the answer. Yeah.
like every business owner,
Yeah.
I like freedom. I don't like being at work when there's traffic, when I could just work from home. And what corporate guys like you to be in the office every day, even if you're not doing anything. That doesn't work for me, right? So if corporate comes to tell me, hey, you can work in your convenience 2 hours per day or per week or whatever, and we get the same output and the money is good and the package is good, of course I'm going to take it. If Nigeria gives me a good package to say, hey, you don't have to be in Nigeria all the time.
You have to be in Nigeria and create and solve the problem of electricity. So you create a system. This is what college is supposed to do. You create a system that will solve the Nigerian
But it's
electric
not that
problem.
simple.
Why is it not simple?
That's
4
for
years in
Nigerians
college.
to answer. That,
1
no,
year
no,
masters.
no.
1 year.
Oh, wait.
What's
no,
not simple?
Again, my masters and wait.
You
The
don't
PhD, wait. PhDs and masters, those are technical qualifications.
No, because listen,
Nigeria
listen,
problems
Mr.
are
listen,
social
sorry,
issues.
Listen, you've got PhD. I'm not educated. In society, you have more value than me, so to speak.
Not really, but
Yeah, no,
sorry,
I mean,
go on.
let's-
Yeah.
no,
In society,
Sorry,
you
continue.
have, yeah, you do.
In society,
Okay.
you have more value than
Yes.
me.
So there's an element of everyone has internally a drive, and how that drive. Again, I don't know how to quantify it in English. Like, okay, maybe there's a series of steps, but it's safe to say that our background, our upbringing,
That's what I wanted
and
to
so
say.
on.
That's.
yeah.
I mean, if you want to talk to me direct. Don't go
Around the corner.
Around the corner.
No, I'm saying that's a part
The
of
fact
it,
is,
but that's not the
The
source.
choice, for me, the source of the choice comes from the point when we get consciousness of our being, what we're exposed to, what we see, what we hear. And that comes from our parents. like your boy now plays very good soccer. I see he's very good goalkeeper. That's already shaping his vision for life. Right? It will only take a distraction or a very faithful event to make him shift focus to say, I don't want to do this anymore. So we don't really have choice. We are choices. I'm looking for the right word. They're forced stress on top of our head. Right? No matter the culture, no matter the tribe, no matter the race, no matter anything, the moment they're born, they give birth to you, you start to grow, you start to crawl, you start to walk. You get to a certain stage, you know, say if they beat you, it go pain you.
It go pain you.
You know, if you're hungry, you need to cry. That is when the manipulation starts. That is when they say train up a child in the way it should go, and when it's old, they will not depart from it. They start to try to guide us. They start to guide us. But the contradiction or the problem, the crisis come where we start to expose ourselves to the things we choose to see, especially for male child, and for female child, the things we choose to hear, right? Hence, you see some parents who say they lock their children inside. They don't want them to have friends. Full of us that come from very strict parents. They don't have friends outside the compound because they don't want us to mix with other children, not to be exposed to what they're exposed to. Because what they are not telling us is they don't want us to be shaped to a future that they don't want for us. Not because that family next door is bad. Do you get it? But as we are growing up, it will only take the wisdom of your parents to say, you know why I was saying you shouldn't go here, you shouldn't do this, because I want you to become a doctor, a lawyer, and all of that. And if you are somebody that has awareness of your own mind, and how does this awareness come? They force you to read book. You must read. They want you to be a doctor. In that reading of that medical book, you see a nurse that fell in love with a beggar that the doctor helped. Your focus, this is the mystery of life, your focus shifts away from being a doctor to having empathy. This nurse is a better person. Oh. They start to write poetry. They start to read English. But this is what is happening in real life. So you see that even your choice of college education change with your own choices as the crisis emerges in life. But the one thing that will never change is that you'll be hungry and you need to eat. You'll be cold, you need to wear clothes. There will be no shelter, you need a place to sleep.
And a 4 years education might not be able to do that
Exactly. For you. The only way to do it is to find a way to find food for that stomach. You're going to wait 4 years to eat. When if you take tomatoes from your father's backyard and go and sell it by the street, you go feel make money to go buy that food. I have seen it. I have 3 sisters. They all married. They only finished secondary school. They went into business selling plywood, timber business with my mom. The 3 of them, they've built house for their husband in Saple. Their husbands are educated.
Where the plywood they are?
So in conclusion, right?
Yeah. So
Just
yeah.
in 2 words, right? Not more than 2 words. Is college worth it?
No.
And you?
No. Because
And Victory. Is college worth it? Yes or no?
For whom? For me, or for?
Okay, giving advice to our audience.
Well, I would say go and learn. Absolutely, you need to learn. How you choose to learn, whether that's through college
That's education.
or through.
Baba, college now we dey talk.
College education.
We know learning and education. I feel like I college.
I would say yes.
College education.
I would say yes.
Uh-huh.
I would say yes, especially if you are from where we come from, where we don't have that exposure. College exposes you beyond. I feel like education, the actual technical knowledge, like 30%.
So the answer is yes.
Yes.
And I remember I asked you a question. I'm not sure if you answered that question directly because you have
he
this
likes
way
going
of
to the corners. It's not
escaping, going
college
this way, going
teaching
this
you.
way. Now you confused me.
It's not
Okay.
education.
I asked you a question, right? You spent how many years in college?
Like from first year to
Total, in general,
everything.
how many years?
About 9 years. Yeah.
About
Brother.
God.
Brother.
9 years.
You know how many has for those
and,
do bad boy?
and when you graduated, right?
Yeah.
You did not follow the line of electrical engineering, what you studied. You decided to start a business. And sorry,
Okay,
and then
yeah, go
I
on.
asked you,
Yeah.
why? You said because what you call sources, the amount of money you want in your bank account.
You no go feel
He said he was
Yeah.
speaking
Give it
about
to you.
Ferraris
Yeah,
here.
so yeah.
I'm coming.
Yeah.
Now I asked you another question. The second question was, before you went to school, before you went into college, did you already know that this is the kind of sources I want in life?
Yes, in the sense that I didn't know what that looked like practically.
Okay.
But I knew that I didn't want to be. I wanted to be free. I
And
wanted
you
to be
wanted
able
those
to
Ferraris,
choose.
you wanted those
I
sources.
wanted a nice.
You knew that before school.
I wanted to be able to afford it.
Okay.
Right. So and I knew school was not going to be enough.
Okay. You knew school was not going to be enough.
Yeah.
So now, but you wanted to get some knowledge from college.
So remember, the business I run as well, a big part of the products we sell are tech products. And I would not have that exposure if I didn't do mechatronics.
Okay.
Right? So this business is just me saying, I want to be able to make money on my own terms. Right? But at the end of the day, my own passion is still, I want to be able to create the next variant of headphones that no one has ever created before that's better than the last generation.
And you believe having 9 years in college will actually prepare you enough to be able to create that?
So my case, again, that's why I'm saying my case is unique. I don't think you need, I think 4 years is decent. If you have a bachelor's degree, it's pretty fair. Even a diploma, especially with a university like CPUT.
You know, I've seen people with no degree, not even 6 months in college, on Instagram a lot, creating
TikTok,
stuff.
they create data.
Exceptions. These are exceptions, right? And this is where, like I said, I know that there will always be exceptions. For example, if you look at the average age of successful business owners, they're usually 40 plus. But there's always the exception of the 21-year-old, like the Zuckerbergs and so on. And even those ones, they had rich parents.
No, they are risk takers.
Right.
Those businesses.
So there will always be exceptions like geniuses and here and there, but there's an element of what's the general consensus. Which
But
is
my question is, to conclude my side, of it, why is it that I have not or I'm yet to see a college graduate, a college degree holder, create something? It's always the college dropout or the ones that are not educated.
Okay, even some of our politicians.
I
they did not
disagree.
graduate.
I disagree big time because the biggest inventors are from college.
No, that
The biggest dropouts, for example, I'm sure you're going to mention someone like, let's say,
Newton.
I don't know about. So
didn't go
there
to
will
college.
always be pioneers, and this is where we have to separate them, right? There's pioneers like geniuses. For example, a Zuckerberg is a pioneer. Don't get me wrong, I'm not really a big fan of the guy from an ethical and so on.
He's a
Although I
tech
use
guy
all his
too now.
But he's
the
a
tech guy.
dropout as well,
But
right?
he's a
Yes.
pioneer in the
Yeah.
sense that it's like they see things before we do, right? Like when some of us are still trying to figure out 2 plus 2, they
He's a
already know.
dropout.
Okay,
But
wait,
he's a
just a
dropout.
quick one. You are a tech guy, right?
Yeah.
A
He's
dropout
also a
from
tech guy.
Harvard.
He's
From
a dropout.
Yeah,
from
dropout.
Harvard.
But you've gone through 9
Yeah.
years.
So-
but you know,
wait.
I don't want to tell you directly, but
Yeah.
I can directly tell you that you've
no,
wasted
no.
9 years.
Yeah, you see what
Yes.
I said? Remember I said,
Guys,
yeah.
Harvard could write code already.
But he's a dropout.
No. But again, that we can't compare. Our families, we do not. The only computer I engaged with in my high school was once,
But it's college.
and all we did was power on,
Power
and
off.
switch off. Right. So we can't compare. These guys spent their first 10, 15 years with computers. The Apple one, I don't know if you've seen those Macintoshes and so on. They were already playing with coding long
But he's a
before.
dropout.
So maybe I can say education in Africa is a scam. Is that correct?
I've said it
so
before,
maybe
and I
we
said
can put it in Africa.
Education
I'm
in Africa is
saying-
meant,
yes, maybe.
is meant
It
to
depends.
upscale the skills of the Western world.
Okay, you
That's
know,
what I
it
said.
depends.
To develop the Western
this
world.
conversation, this
no.
topic is actually very, very large.
Yeah.
It's not.
So if we have to, sorry, Mr. Vechu,
Yeah,
if
no.
we have to continue,
Yeah,
we
it's
will
not
never
gonna-
finish.
Yeah.
Because I was about to introduce artificial intelligence into that guy, artificial intelligence versus going to college, but I'm not going to go there. I'm not going
AI
to go
is
there.
a good
No,
example.
we are going to come back to that topic.
Who are the guys that built AI? Is it dropouts?
Tell us now.
They are not. That's my point. They are
Who
scientists.
are the people that are selling AI?
No, but that's the thing. Wait. No.
Who are the ones using it
But
more?
Who are selling
and
it?
this is where I feel like you're making my point in the sense that everyone has a place.
Yeah, of course.
You have a Google,
I
for
agree.
example, the
Yeah.
guys that built Google, they started as coders, they evolved into business owners. But they built this empire that has employees. there's divisions. There's marketing, logistics, and in Google's thingy, they have a research division, right? So these researchers have to be able to bridge academia and industry. They need to be able to find nice projects that they can use. And when they find a nice project, what do? They invest in it. They fund master's projects and PhD projects. And then when that becomes market ready...
Daddy, lose this guy.
The hungry go beat him.
Hey.
Come on, the big English, bros. You see that business when you enter with the do so is the best thing for your life. Forget.
No, but that's my... But again,
Because
like...
I have seen a lot of people die out of frustration, out of this college thing, bro. So, reality speaking.
If you look at those people, if you ask all of them, I can guarantee you, most of them will tell you, I went to study this thing for money. And that's where, of course, you're going to get disappointed because the college is not designed to give you money, it's designed to take money from you.
Yes, but the question is, before going to college, what did you have in mind?
So, yeah.
You're going to college to
get a good
the
job.
knowledge, get a good job, make money.
No, I want-
and probably get your family out of poverty.
No.
if they're in
I actually
poverty.
went to college because I enjoyed engineering. From a very young age, I would open like our VHS, I got electrocuted a few times. I would try to play with electronics.
Comes from what you're exposed to.
So this is where I'm saying now that for a Mark Zuckerberg who is like me, of course he's going to drop out at 1 year because his parents are going to buy him all the Macintoshes in the world. Macintosh was like a whole thing, right?
Now. So there'll be no need for him
To go all the because he's already started learning.
Accelerate his education.
So that's an example of where that point is he has learned. He doesn't need
college.
He doesn't need college
Yes,
to
he said
learn.
the same thing. That college is not worth it. You don't need college.
College is
to
not
learn.
worth the time.
Exactly.
It's not worth the time.
You can't just
you don't
spend
put
9, 10
you don't
years.
put
If you have an
If
if you had an opportunity to get all this knowledge that you are currently boasting of in the space of 1 year, versus college, what would you do?
So why do 4 years?
I will do 4 years knowing what I know now. I'll tell you why. Because I got a double promotion in high school and I don't like it. I felt like I was not prepared for the real world. I finished my first matric at 15. I entered university at 17.
Wow.
Because of 2 double promotions. And yes, it sounds nice. And again, that's the cultural side. All our parents, don't do primary 6, just go. Just go and do WAEC. Right?
That's why you bob hair like this. Your head is hot.
No, but again, there's a side effect to that in the sense that now when I go into university, I'm the youngest in every single class I'm in. I don't have friends. Which kid does not like friends? I like friends now, but I don't have the common sense. I only started having friends. Well, I only started being called like uncle, like mentor after my master's. Oh, wow. Up until my master's, I was like the kid in the class.
I think I understand why he spent 9 years in school. He was very intelligent. He's that intelligent guy that education book is just his thing. But now, when he came out of school after 9 years, he realized that that book.
Pause.
Say Jesus, see,
guys, I started my master's in 2016. I started business in 2017. So they were not done. I didn't come out of academia. I did it in parallel.
Slide into it.
Because there was an element of first, at the time, I needed to pay my bills. And yes, the parents...
if I use your
college don't go pay your bills.
So I needed to learn how to do websites and stuff just to survive. Right? But then I saw that they're not actually separate. Because websites are coding at the end of the day. So there was an element of, how do I make more sales? So I needed...
Excuse me, how did you learn the website while you were studying the engineering? Did you go to another school for it?
YouTube.
I said school not closed. But don't talk this thing too much.
We need to close now.
But those are soft skills.
We're done.
Those are soft skills. Those are soft skills, right?
But they use a hard See this man.
But again, like I said, I think everyone is different. My case is a very specific case. So
I'm gonna cut it short because if I let you continue, we won't leave here. We won't leave here because I can see education is speaking, not you.
No,
so,
but I have played both roles. I mean, I have sold stuff in the street. I lived in Limpopo for like 2 months where we were literally selling kombuchas to people in Somali shops.
Yeah.
I think we did like 1,000 shops at the peak of the powers of that business. So it's like fermented drinks. Yeah.
Oh.
Kombucha, like natural drinks. But there's like a big market there.
Like
basically, yeah, there's like
Zimbabwe.
Scoby, like fermented,
Yeah,
probably,
Zimbabwe,
yeah, it's like
oh, it's a
fermented
new
and
business,
stuff, yeah. So there's a big market now that, but point is, at the time, I would admit that the school held me back in that period because I was still always thinking MATLAB, Excel, PowerPoint, and the reality is when you're on the ground, yeah, I know no one cares.
What do you want?
It's like,
I don't understand.
will customers buy my product or
How
not?
much?
How much am I going to make when I sell your product? How can we make a financial agreement? That is the business side that I will agree. But that on top of that, if I want to scale this business, I need tech tools, right? I need graphs. I need someone to collect data from every shop to say which shops are performing best and which ones are not. And someone needs to be able to use that software, whether it's MATLAB or whatever, because that's where the money.
So all these things, they can teach you these things in the matter of 3 weeks, 5
But
weeks.
how would you know what to
Why
learn?
would you go and spend 5-10 years in the university? You're giving people. I'm not saying I studied. Oh, and
No,
it's
I
important to
understand.
get an education, but the amount of time we are spending on these things, you guys are killing some of the dreams of some kids because most of them, after the 10 years, they will still end up being, God knows what, business people. Just train them.
I do want to ask. I want to ask
I wish there's more time.
the lady next to me. With everything said, right? Do you think going to college education is worth it?
Definitely, yes.
Definitely worth
I
it.
just need to be educated. It's a must in South Africa to be educated, honestly.
So the advice from Mr. Vitri and the lady next to me is that college is worth it.
Yeah.
And for me, I feel like it's all going down to knowing, like I said earlier, knowing what you want to do.
Yeah.
You understand? Some stuff doesn't require going to 4 years in college. You can actually,
Yes.
like you said, you learned doing the website from YouTube. You can actually learn from different means. In 1 year, you can learn the whole thing, right? So just a quick one from you. What are your advice for our viewers out there?
Or for Dangote.
For my viewers,
That's a very quick one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would really advise that you pick something that you are passionate about. Leave all this college thing. What is that thing that you like to spend your money on? Whatever it is, go and start doing business on that thing. That is where your success is. Thank you very much.
My lady?
I'll just work with what he's saying because examples are just popping in my head. Kai Senat is one of the biggest streamers in the world. Mr. Beast is also a dropout. So what I would say is don't just box yourself to what education says you can do, or this is because there are different ways that a problem can be solved. So find out what you like. Specialized learning is the way. Study that exact thing because most of us are not finding X now. We've been doing that since how many years? So do what you want to do and start making money. Your parents are waiting for you. You need to take care of them.
Don Julio.
I find Ferrari.
That's why she's Maserati.
Thank you. Oh God.
Thank you, viewers, and thank you, listeners. This is a very interesting topic. If we have to continue, like I said, we will never stop. We will never leave here. But we are coming back again. There has to be episode 2 of this section because I have a lot to ask. I have a lot to say. But because we have over-explained the whole thing, right? Now we've gone above time. So we'll be right back.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I want to have Mr. Vito when I come back again, right? In
Yes.
fact, you as well. You as well. I want to have Mr. Vitri. I have Madam Maserati as well. So we can all share more on how or what our thoughts are on.
I think we must bring
this
some
topic.
parents in as well.
Ha! If you bring my father here, don't try it.
Must put them on like Zoom or something.
I
Yeah,
would like to have a father.
yeah, like put them on Zoom, even if they join online.
I wasted all my money. Funny enough, my father is also an investor in my business. Do you know that?
Yeah, but I mean, times are changing.
So
changing.
I get like it's a different world. Like I said, everyone is different. I know not everyone is.
Yeah.
Me, I know why I did 10 years. Don't worry. Me, I know exactly why. I knew the cost. I knew that I wouldn't get immediate results or the immediate car, but I also know the pros if it works.
Yeah.
So
If
I'm
they don't
happy
pay your
to.
retirement, call me. I'll go for you. If they don't pay your gratuity.
Didn't I say I'm unemployed,
we need to turn it
guys?
off now. Thank you, viewers. Thank you, listeners.
Thank you, everyone.
It's your favorite
Thank you so much.
podcast with DJ Val. And here we are, young and curious.
Amen
You remember
to
the
that.
topic? Is college worth it? So you will need to leave your answers under the comment section. Remember to subscribe on
Like
that
and
YouTube channel.
share.
Like and share.
Choo-choo.
Thank you.